What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Sims with Let's Be Blunt podcast with our latest episode. Oh man, what a hell of a year it's been so far in our industry and the things we're going through. State by state, it seems like they're coming for us and really tearing up our whole industry. We had Tennessee ultimately shut down their industry with a dreadful, industry killing bill. And right behind them right now is Texas. Texas SB3 is sitting on Governor Abbott's desk currently that would also kill their industry. And we were just watching a clip from Lieutenant Governor.
This is all sold. Even the senators haven't seen all of this. It's all sold for kids, designed for kids and adults. This little bag of jellies, mango peach, $90 for a bag. Send you sky high.
And basically Reefer Madness to 2025, saying basically by trying edibles, you'd be lucky to wake up in the morning. But anyway, it's a different story. Here we are since 2018, deep into this farm bill, and we're still constantly fighting, not only for cannabis, but ultimately plant medicine in general. And our next guest is right in the heart of all of that. And we have Jeremy Steding.
Yes, sir.
Steding. Yeah. He is here from 1836 Kratom or Kratom, whatever you want to call it. Still the same thing. An excellent, amazing company out of Austin, Texas. And it's the only Kratom products we carry within our companies. And it's really a stellar company with some great things going on. But how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Mike?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
All the way in from Texas. So you guys are originally created and built in Texas, right?
That's right. Yeah. So, honestly, the company was very, 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 very first founded in Franklin, Kentucky. You're talking about Tennessee.
Right.
For many years of my life, I pursued music as a career. Moved out to Austin for that in 2007. Did that. Things had kind of flatlined. Wife and baby and I moved out to Nashville. Kratom was illegal in Tennessee at the time.
Wow.
So as we were there, it was time for a career change. And I would drive up, or I may or may not have driven up to Franklin, Kentucky to purchase Kratom at that time.
Right.
And anyhow, I saw the prices. They were exorbitant. And, it was something that I still am just very interested in. And so as I thought about what I wanted to do next, that was what it was. And got a storage unit up there, would rent and work in hotel rooms in the very, very early days.
Nice.
And 5x10 storage unit. But we did found the LLC in Texas preemptively. Moved back to Austin, Texas, December 20th, 2017. And on December 20th, 2017, Tennessee reversed the Kratom ban. The exact day, man.
Nice.
It was absolutely nuts, but I'm glad it worked out like that. Texas is home, so
everything happens exactly like it's supposed to when it's supposed to. What kind of music career? Gangster rap?
Yeah. Mostly. Like vintage country and western, like old school,
the good stuff.
Yeah, man.
Back when country was good and all music was good.
Yep.
That's
Cash,
awesome.
Merle Haggard,
So,
Willie. Yep.
Obviously we're mostly, my background is mostly in cannabis. I love cannabis or whatever, but being in this industry ultimately introduced me to this product. And, I think it's a great product. It's not necessarily for me unless I have some issues that I'd like to use it for. What brought you to Kratom? Like just the thought of it, the need?
Sure. So, I was at a small store in Austin near my house in 2013. And there was a product on the shelf that I was curious about that was branded as for ADHD. And so I asked the proprietor, I said, hey, man, what's up with that? Is that pretty legit? And he said, well, he's like, well, that's caffeine pills, man. He's like, it's whatever. He said, though, if you want something for focus, he's like, I've got this. It's a tea. It's from Thailand. I don't know a ton about it. Mind you, this is 2013, so Kratom is very, very rare in the United States. And he said, hey, you can try it, and it's in this pretty sketchy jar, right? And so he just hands me a few of the capsules. And I tried it, man, and I was locked in booking gigs. I was like, this is absolutely incredible. So I started reading about it, stuff like that. And at that time, especially, most of what you found in a search was pretty negative.
Right.
When I looked it up and it said, opiate, I was like, but that's not it. That's not what I consumed.
Right.
This was something that made me focus and locked in. And so I became more interested, started consuming it. And then I was like, well, I don't know if I want to with some of the negative stuff that I saw. And then in about 14, the American Kratom Association was founded. So I started following them, learning more about it, researching the history. And still playing music at that time. And then it was when we were out there that I was looking for a new career. It just kind of, after some weeks of reflection, it was like, yeah, that's it, man.
Right.
And
how was it received when coming to market? Was it gangbusters immediately, or was it a long, drawn out educational process?
Well, for us, it was gangbusters immediately because, I'd been playing music for a living
Right.
for so many years that to us, it was just absolutely incredible. We started the company in May, and over the course of that year, we sold, $40,000. And to me, that was just insane.
Right.
So it was, but any other businessman, it would be pretty slow,
Right.
pretty slow burn. But, we've learned as we've grown, and it's just been one step at a time, and it's been a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
It was the first day. I had the packages. I went up to Franklin, Kentucky, and went to the 2 stores there. We went by a different name back then. We had to change that in 2020. But
What was the name?
it was Quantum Kratom,
Quantum
Quantum Botanicals, and
Somebody else had it, or
somebody else had it.
That's how it goes
Said,
every damn time.
cease and desist,
Okay.
Mr. Steding.
Yeah, you haven't made it until you
yeah.
get one of those. We've had
Yep.
a few now.
It happens.
Yeah.
So we chose 1836. 1836 is the year of Texas independence. It is also the first year that Westerners discovered Kratom.
Interesting.
So Indonesia was the Dutch East Indies, which I've got another theory on why Kratom is so unknown still in general, because the Dutch East India Company ran what is now currently Indonesia. In school, we learn about the spice trade and all of this stuff. The Dutch East India Company was dope dealers, buddy. So
My kind
if
of
there's this plant that might help people,
sure.
that may or may not help people get off that,
Right.
it only makes sense that historically this would have been repressed, and it would have been something that was just
Got to keep those poppy
kept
fields
up in there in the, and they did, man.
Yeah, sure.
The Dutch East India Company was much bigger than Amazon now. It was the
Sure.
first mega corporation, man.
Wow.
Pretty interesting. But so we went with 1836, and it was right about that time that the company really gained traction, and we started to be sold in multiple states and whatnot. So
Right.
yeah, it's been fun, man.
Yeah, it's I guess I was immediately drawn to the marketing. It has that vintage feel, that 50s, 60s feel.
Sure.
I love the marketing and all that behind that. Is that more just your style, or is that something that you just wanted to bring in with that type of feel?
Man, I guess it's my style. When we started the company, I was really into Mad Men, the show.
Oh, yeah.
Still a fantastic show. Still
sure.
watch that just in the background at dinner and stuff. But
Right.
I've just always enjoyed that branding style. There's something cool and unique and handmade about it. So
Yeah. It has a big Austin feel too.
Right
for
on,
sure.
man.
I mean, Austin's my favorite part of Texas. The rest of Texas you could keep, but
yeah, fair enough, man.
Dallas is definitely my least favorite. But Austin's just it's quirky, it's strange, but it's got that hipster vibe, that feel to it. So I do love Austin.
Keep Austin weird, man.
Right.
Yeah.
So how is the market now and the temperature in Texas? Obviously, you got Tweedledee and Tweedledum as governor and lieutenant governor there. What is their temperature on this product in particular? Or they just got a hard on for cannabis?
Well, no, we just went through the exact same thing. SB 1868 was a bill to ban kratom, along with a number of other things.
They could have at least named it 1836.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right.
So SB 1868 was intended to ban kratom. They did have a public hearing. A number of people, over 20 people, maybe 30, went to the Capitol and testified. Every single person that showed up was pro-Kratom. And I think that made a difference. There were U.S. veterans talking about the way that this has positively impacted their lives. Many stories were shared. And I believe that changed the hearts of some of the senators. So the Senate removed natural kratom from the bill. However, they made a mistake. So the number that they put, they said it may not contain 7-OH over 0.1% of the total alkaloid content. Not possible.
Right.
Natural kratom. So on the tree, 7-OH does not exist in the at least in traceable levels. In the live living plant, there is no 7-OH. When it dries, a very small percentage of the mitragynine and other alkaloids are believed to convert to 7-OH.
It's kind of like cannabis with the THCA to D9 kind of deal.
Exactly.
And decarboxylates.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So they put that limit at 0.1% of the total alkaloid profile. I believe the intent was more than 0.1% total, but the American Kratom Association's Kratom Consumer Protection Acts tend to be written like that as a percentage of the alkaloid profile, which is mathematically incredibly confusing. I don't care how intelligent you are.
Yeah.
And,
math, I call it.
Yeah. So natural kratom tends to be about 0.005% 7-OH and about 2% total alkaloids. So if you're at that, then you're sitting at 0.25%. So that's 2.5 times the proposed limit. Anyhow, it still did pass the Senate because that wasn't fully understood. And then luckily, we're very grateful it did die in the House. The committee never passed it. They never presented it. So I hope and believe that provides us ample time to educate and work with the state of Texas, which we hope they will, to implement not just the laws that have been passed, which is the Kratom Consumer Protection Act, but a registration and regulatory system that allows, because, one of their stated concerns was inability to monitor. But there are registration systems being implemented in other states.
Sure.
And
which was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
What is the opposition's argument? Even the crazy ones, like what is their?
Oh, it kills people.
Yeah,
it kills people. It's dangerously addictive. It's everything, and you see some of these news articles. I checked into a hotel for a trade show not too long ago, and the guy said, oh, man, he saw the email address. He said, oh, Kratom, that's bad stuff. And I said, not to me, man. It's been wonderful to me. I said, why do you say that? He said, oh, a friend of mine took that, and he did 4 months in the hospital. And that wasn't Kratom, man. No,
right.
No way, 0% chance.
Right.
And if it was any kind of Kratom in there, it was either spiked or incredibly unnaturally.
Right.
But the natural plant, not to say that it couldn't happen, not to say that someone couldn't have an allergic reaction or some kind of crazy situation.
That you know of, is there any history of anyone dying from this out there? Because I get the same thing with cannabis, and I've yet to find. They try to attribute like someone jumping off of a building, and one girl smoked a blunt, went and murdered a preacher or something, and they try to blame those two deaths on cannabis. But otherwise, I've seen nothing out there. What about Kratom? Same deal?
Well, very similar, man.
Right.
There are things that they have claimed as Kratom deaths. However, the level of mitragynine that would be toxic still hasn't been determined, and it doesn't seem.
Right.
Now, from my perspective, I don't believe that's possible. However, when you get into some of the metabolites, the subalkaloids, we don't know because we don't have a long history of straight 7-OH, straight pseudodoxyl consumption. We have a long history of natural kratom consumption.
Okay.
So
break it down in layman's terms, these things you're throwing out, those last two words. I guess that's like the cannabinoids of kratom, or the parts of kratom that make it active.
Basically, yeah. So the primary alkaloid in kratom is mitragynine.
Okay.
In general, that's going to make up about 1 to 1.7, 1.8% of the plant in the dried material.
Right.
Can go up to 2% and a little higher, but in general, it's between 1 and 1.5, 1.7%. And then you have a series of subalkaloids. Then you have the metabolite. So 7-OH is a metabolite of mitragynine, and pseudodoxil, I believe, is a further metabolization of that. And the natural plant, like I said, is going to be, in general, about 2 to 2.5% total alkaloids. There's a series of other alkaloids in there between the famous ones, which is mitragynine and 7-OH. But Dr. Chris McCurdy, who is the researcher from the University of Florida who's led so much of this, believes that it's kind of a symphony effect in the natural plant, that it's not just the mitragynine alone, but the combination of all of these alkaloids that really kind of give it its
we call it
magical
the
balance.
entourage effect.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, interesting. And I guess the bioavailability is determined through the liver as well, like, or stomach lining.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the belief. And along with bioavailability, when you take the natural plant, consuming the natural plant as the powder is going to be slightly less bioavailable. It's going to take more time to be absorbed into the system.
Right.
Of course, when you break it down into stronger extracts, it's more bioavailable, right? Because it's already been broken down. And then, of course, the 7-OH tablets are extremely bioavailable. Now, along with bioavailability means quicker impact, and in general that also means the more bioavailable something is more quickly, the more likely dependence can be. So just something to be aware of. Yeah.
My pitch to people that come in the store, back when I was in the stores and people would ask about Kratom, ultimately I would say, are you currently experiencing chronic pain?
Yeah.
Are you trying to come off opioids and things like that? But I always kind of tell people, listen, if you don't have a need for this probably isn't for you. Is that something I should be telling the customers, or how do you approach that?
Yeah, well,
'Cause it does have, I guess, some addictive things. Maybe what isn't addictive? I mean, sugar's addictive.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, no. So I always tell people it's a great option for chronic pain and great option to come off opioids. It kind of serves as an opioid, but you don't have the risk of death because it doesn't affect your breathing the same way, from what I understand, or whatever makes people stop breathing or die from opioids
Right.
isn't present in Kratom. Is that correct as well?
I can't medically claim that 100%, but in general, that's respiratory depression, the slowing down of the breath,
Right.
does not seem to be dangerously prevalent.
Okay.
So that is a wonderful thing. Now, I would say that there are a number of other uses for Kratom. I love it for focus.
Sure.
It's something that a lot of people who have ADHD really are turning to Kratom now.
Sure.
People kind of just use it as a mood boost. What I would say is, in general, if you don't direly need it, especially for chronic pain, it's really best not to consume it every single day,
As needed.
Right,
Like
as
Adderalls
needed.
for your test taking time.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe that's just me.
exactly.
So let's talk. I'm learning about this. And again, my education, my background's in cannabis, and we're evolving as a company and myself more as a wellness brand, and trying to figure out better alternatives, plant medicines, things to pharmaceutical or street drugs.
Sure.
Help explain to us where this comes from and the differences in the different ones. I know their color.
Yeah.
I've heard red means bed, green means go, that kind of thing. Walk us through that and how that works, and where this originates from.
Sure. So Kratom is a cousin of the coffee plant, originates in Southeast Asia. Traditionally, Thailand has been the primary home. Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, those countries, all in that region. It's got to be tropical, subtropical, hot, humid, lots of water. So that's where it's traditionally from. It has been consumed as a tea. Over there, a lot of the workers will just pull a leaf off the tree and put it in their mouth and chew it.
Yeah.
And I got to do that while I was over there. Yeah.
What do you think about that effect versus the concentrated powder or whatever?
Oh, it's really nice. I wish it was something that was possible here, but you can't get a leaf from Indonesia fast enough to have a...
And that's what I was wondering. I guess you talked about it growing best in that climate. It just doesn't survive well here. It's just not the same.
Well, there's a number of things to that. There's research being done. A good buddy of mine, Scott Acker, is actually working on that. He does have some Kratom plantation down in South Florida.
I was in Florida, if
subtropical
anywhere.
Florida, it
Yeah.
could be possible. Greenhousing kratom isn't really effective because the tree is almost as big as this room, and that's going to yield 1 kilogram per harvest. So the greenhousing space and the cost of greenhousing is pretty inefficient. Most places it cannot grow. There are researchers working on developing the plant. And now, if they do fully develop this to be able to survive a mild freeze, etc., then we may have true strains in the future. But right now, the strains aren't really strains. That's the word that's used.
Right.
A bright green is going to be the leaves are cured entirely indoors. So they're going to retain that vibrant, bright green color.
Sure.
The reds are going to be either cured outdoors. Sometimes they're fermented in a bag, but they get that sunlight. That's going to convert some of the major alkaloids to minor alkaloids. So with a darker red, you're usually almost always going to show a lower metragenine and a lower total alkaloid content, but the microalkaloids are more prevalent, and those are the ones that are believed to be more relaxing.
Sure.
A lot of people turn to the darker ones for relief.
Right.
And so you got those two basic components really is what it's truly really made out of is the dark leaves and the green leaves. And all of the strains in between are truly a blend. It's right now, and there will be people that'll fight me to the T on this.
Right.
But have those people been to Indonesia 4 times? Have they spent a total of over 2 months of their lives in Indonesia visiting these farms?
Right.
Probably not. And a lot of the what kind of started this whole strain deal, I think, was smaller Indonesian vendors wanting to get an angle, smaller vendors here. But there is truth to different perceived effects. I do believe that. I absolutely 100% find that Texas red is very different from green means go.
Right.
And like I said, I believe that's because of the alkaloids converting into the minor alkaloids. In general, the greens and the
Almost
whites.
like a sativa and indica.
Yeah.
And a hybrid, a mixture of the
Yep.
two.
Yep.
Very similar to that. Yeah. So you talked about you going over to Indonesia or whatever. A couple questions from that. So is there's one massive farm, or there are a whole bunch of farms of this? And the second part of that question, when it's harvested, is all the leaves like cut off of a tree and then they grow back, or is it one time shot like cannabis? Like you grow it, cut it down, and it's done?
No, it does reharvest.
Nice.
The farms are everywhere, man. So it's mostly up in West Kalimantan. That's another funny thing. So many of these kratom strains are called Bali. Doesn't really grow in Bali, and that's just a branding deal.
Right.
So most of us aren't super familiar with Indonesian geography, but Indonesia is a massive country. It is the 4th largest country in the world. There's over 260 million people in Indonesia, which was crazy to me because I had no idea.
It's like that
right
many
under
in
us.
Los Angeles.
Yeah,
It's
well,
not-
the size of the countries goes. I believe China first, India, then us, then Indonesia. So
crazy.
the kratom comes from a specific region, West Kalimantan. The capital of West Kalimantan is Pontianak, and that's where most of the kratom businessmen are. The farms are all up along this Kaposulu River, and there's many small towns up there that kratom is now their primary economic driver up there, man.
Is it something that's governed and over-governed by the government? Like, is it, do you have to go through the government, or is it open trade with those farms? I'm just curious how that works.
It just changed.
Okay.
And I was over there last year in the fall or at the end of last summer, and there have been regulations implemented over there as they're seeking to legitimize this, right? So
Sure.
For hundreds of years, this has just been a kind of a folk remedy kind of deal. This hasn't been a commercial product. Agriculture in general, the entire economy for that in Indonesia is different. So many people have their own plants for whatever.
Right.
That commerce on that stuff is a little different.
Sure.
Commerce is just very different there. So it's only really been in the last 15 years, and especially the last 5 to 7 years, the kratom has become incredibly popular.
Sure.
So they have implemented regulations. Of course, there's been challenges along the way of sorting out, well, what are the rules? How does this thing, anybody in the kratom industry can vouch that the last few months have been intense because so many of the shipments have been stopped.
That was going to be my next
Indonesia.
question.
Yeah.
Shipping it here, is it an issue to getting it here? And then do you have it shipped here in leaf form, or do you have it broken down, ground down to a powder to get shipped?
Yeah, so we have it shipped over in the matcha style, the powdered leaf tea. The crushed leaf tea is also nice. A lot of the extract products are actually made from the crushed leaf, which can be brewed as a tea. The kratom powder can be brewed as a tea as well. Same way that you'd brew matcha. There's a lot of people that really like kratom tea. I like it. It's very bitter.
Right.
Very bitter. So some honey, some citrus in there, but it's tannic is what I would call it. Like a red wine where it kind of bites back. But so most of it is shipped over in the matcha style, and that's for a number of reasons. Just the regular crushed leaf tea is really big. A kilogram might be this big, versus a kilogram of powdered leaf kratom is that big. So just the cost of the cargo space on the ships and that stuff makes the vast majority of it comes over in that powdered matcha style.
Yeah, and I guess coming through, you would have to decide what port it would come through with the varying states. Or does it matter?
Well, luckily, very grateful to say that right now I don't believe there's a port state.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
good.
That has a problem. Most of the states that are anti-kratom are in the middle of the country right now.
Yeah. Probably the Southeast, like everything else.
Yeah, Arkansas. But Arkansas is changing over. They passed a Kratom Consumer Protection Act, and that is wonderful. And so it does look like alcohol. They like alcohol in Arkansas, that's for sure. But Arkansas will switch over to be a Kratom legal state with regulation and such. But Alabama, Indiana looks good. Wisconsin, we have a lot of hope. Mark Pocan is a very big kratom advocate. He is a rep in
what they're doing here in North Carolina is trying to pit us against each other. Is ultimately we're trying to get a certain bill passed that would protect us in the cannabis industry, but ultimately push out the kratom industry. And it's unfortunate they try to lump these things in together. Hopefully, at this point, none of it comes up. They stay in disarray and can't agree on a damn thing, so we can get through these couple years until we find some people that are pro plant medicine. Sure. But what a everyday. I guess for you, it's probably like us, where you wake up every day wondering, am I in business today or not, or do I have to move across the country? Or
we got 2 years now, man. Session is over. Our kratom bill died. We're still very, very, very hopeful that Governor Abbott will veto SB 3, which was the hemp bill.
Right. We're all hoping that.
We all are very much. It's something that it was a day of mixed emotions because we got the news that our bill had died, but all of our customers, so many of our friends, so many of my close friends, their business is looking like it's becoming illegal, and it may have. I don't know, but pretty heartbreaking. It's just the vast majority of Americans are pro-legal cannabis.
That was even
regulate.
Crazier. I was reading statistics. I think it was even something like 38% of the most conservative voters of that state still wanted some form of cannabis, kratom, whatever, access.
And that's the most
conservative.
And
right.
That's, it's in the high 60s of pro-legal.
Right.
And they talk about, you don't know what's in here is what Dan Patrick yells. Well, it's got a certificate of analysis.
It's safer than the damn food and that most of what we eat.
Exactly.
That's what's crazy, man. It's, you think at some point somebody will have some kind of awakening, but the only reason we're even getting some traction and movement for legalization or protection or access to cannabis in this state is because some of our biggest opposition, them and their family members, came down with cancer. So now all of a sudden they want access, which blows my mind. It's like, where the hell you been lately,
That's, and I hope and believe, not that I want anybody to get cancer, but that more and more people who are in those positions will have the experience. I think that one thing that is truly misunderstood, us in kratom specifically, is so many people know people who consume Kratom.
Sure.
It's still got a stigma. Most people don't say, hey, by the way, I take Kratom. Why?
Right.
But it's so misunderstood. It is a functional tool for most people. It's not a party, and it's kind of an interesting combo, Kratom and cannabis in the same space, because to me, cannabis is very relaxing, kind of a chilling, social kind of thing, whereas Kratom is something that I consume to get work done. And it's the smoke shop counterculture space is very open-minded, a little more risk tolerant than other industries, so they've kind of come together. But so many of these politicians know people that consume Kratom daily, regularly, and it's a wonderful part of their lives. It's hardworking people,
most of them, I would go as far to say, probably ultimately daily consumption of opioids.
Oh, yeah. Well,
illegally or legally.
Mm-hmm.
It seems the ones that make the rules and try to tell us how to live our lives do far worse than we do. But
it does.
I digress. So, so tell me, what was your first product you came to market with? Was it just the powder or the green?
Green means go. So we came to market. This is the only one that held its original name the whole time. The Green Means Go came to market in 2017. We had Green Means Go, Red Vein, White Lightning, and Super Mang Da. When we switched over to 1836, Super Mang Da became Atomic Mang Da, because while we're getting cease and desist, better take that Superman logo off, dude. That's been there the whole time. We started with 1 ounce, 2 ounce, and 4 ounce bags. And then I had a little tiny capsule maker, man, like an Amazon one. Yeah. And I would sit there and brush it on, stamp them down. Yeah.
I may or may not have used one of those in my time for capsules myself. That's so with the green, and then from there, you guys have all different stuff too that I've seen coming out. I tried a bunch last time. What's your current bestseller?
Current bestseller is right here. This is the Lazy Luau. So this is a Kratom Kava ashwagandha blend. So this is going to have 50 milligrams of metragenine. Now, all of our products at 1836, we want these to be lifestyle products. Sure. We don't sell these big knockout blow kind of things.
Right.
These are things that we want part of a healthy lifestyle, right? So this is 2 servings. Many people do consume the whole thing. It depends, because Kava, especially if you're not, familiar with it, man, Kava will get you pretty laid back,
I'm
man.
Just now tiptoeing into that one as well. Again, it's like a whole background of cannabis, trying to tiptoe into other things, but Kava is one thing we're definitely exploring, and they're becoming more popular, Kava bars and things like that. So is that the one that made me pucker up when I tried that? Well, yeah, it's that little bitter taste, right?
I know which one you tried.
Right, yeah. It wasn't bad, but it was a couple of them. I felt interesting when I leave here. And I'll tell you, in the past with Kratom, it gives me kind of a nauseous, sick on my stomach feeling, but I did just a little bit of everything that day and felt pretty damn good throughout the day. But yeah, so let's go ahead and walk through your current lineup of products.
Yeah, sure, man.
And, ultimately what people are mostly using for consumption, and what times. Is it pre-workout, post-workout, bed, whatever? What is ideal as we go through these different product lines?
Yeah, sure, man. So the Lazy Luau is more of like a social, kind of relaxing. I do like to consume about half of one for working.
Yep.
A lot of Kava, like I said, can be a little bit tiring. This was so popular that we ended up launching the Lazy Lemonade this year too. So we've got the Lazy Lemonade in the 12-ounce cans. We also have all of the beverages in instant mix in here. So you just mix it with 12 ounces of water. And what's nice about that is if you go to the store, especially if it's just you, picking up a case of cans is a lot. It's heavy. You can take the instant mix home, small, lightweight, comes in at a lower price point too. So we have the Lazy Lemonade, which is the Kava Kratom ashwagandha. Efficacy is the same as the Lazy Luau, based on our most popular long-term strain, which is the Green Means Go Cherry Limeade. This is absolutely delicious. Get it ice cold. All of these are made with natural ingredients, real lime, real cherry. We use a stevia extract, so all of these are very low calorie, but they don't have that like aspartame. And then the last new one that we did this year was the Electric Fresh mints. Freshen your breath and freshen your mood.
There you go.
Electric Fresh.
There you go.
It's really nice. These these are like 1 gram each. So they're 15 milligrams of metragenine. They're little tiny mints. There's 21 of them in
I
here.
think I tried those last time too. Yeah.
I love them, man. But what's
You
nice
ever go hero with all this stuff? I know you're supposed to, do it responsibly, but do you ever just like, let's go hard and do a shot of this, a can of that, a couple breath mints?
I've overdone it. I absolutely have been guilty of overdoing it. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you, man, and just about any Kratom consumer can tell you this,
Don't do it.
more is not more when it comes to Kratom, man. Like, you just feel sick, dude.
Sure.
And
I was wondering, just the overconsumption, just so you know your sweet spot.
well, and another thing too on that line, especially when people first get into Kratom, if they're using this for focus,
Right.
well, that tops off. The general rule of thumb is less is more when it comes to focus.
Right.
So once you go past a certain point, then it becomes very relaxing and very sedative. So you might be like, man, I'm locked in. I'm going to take a little bit more Kratom. And then it's like, oh, man, damn. So
Right.
it's,
interesting.
I think most Kratom consumers tend to find their sweet spot. And but it's something to be mindful of for sure.
Yeah, I think after we started carrying you guys, I think I was either out in Vegas or an alt pro show or something. I think I saw you and your wife out there. And I don't see a lot of Kratom representation these days. It seems like a lot of companies are kind of like generic or whatever. It seems like you're very consumer market with this, where you are out in the open. But I'm seeing these trends of these 7-hydroxy pills. Is that something you guys are doing, or
Absolutely not.
okay? What's
No.
the reason behind that?
Well, those are massive.
Right.
Just most other companies are usually as a different name. So, like I said, we want our products to be part of an overall wellness lifestyle.
Right.
We have hundreds and hundreds of years of safe use of Kratom in Southeast Asia.
Right.
So 7-OH is a metabolite,
Right.
So like I said, in the natural Kratom plant, it may be about 0.005%.
Right.
To consume a 20 milligram 7-OH tablet, you would have to consume an entire pound of Kratom at one time. That's a
Right.
jug like this. So we don't have the long-term data to say that we know that's safe. In my personal experience, just from stories and speaking to people, it definitely seems to have a higher abuse potential than natural Kratom does. So it's something that we're not into. We want this to be part of a good lifestyle.
Sure.
And I'm not bashing it. I get it. It everything's got its place, and it very well may have a wonderful future.
We need to know more.
But we need to know more.
Yeah,
So that's
I
my
feel the
perspective,
same
yeah.
too way about cannabis. I mean, I'm a purist. I like it in its purest form, like nature intended it to be.
Yeah.
I like to smoke it in a joint, and but and we have all these different offerings and things, THCP and all this other stuff, and I'm the same way. It's either synthetic or semi-synthetic. It's super concentrated. And I don't think nature intended it for it, and I don't think it's going to be well for us, and I don't think it does well because it's the entourage effect that ultimately is the best.
Sure,
So
man.
I have similar feelings. I was wondering, we currently do not have 7-hydroxy in our stores. We only carry your brand anyway, but we do get approached constantly about it. And we even had an employee try the last batch that came through. She said she felt great for about an hour and was sick as hell
Oh, man.
to the next day.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. We pawn off our testing to our
Guinea
friends and our
pigs.
staff here. We did it all ourselves. We wouldn't get anything done. So what's next for 1836? Is there product development? You're getting into more things? Are you staying steady where you're at?
Oh, always.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Always. So the beverage line was launched this year. That's been incredibly challenging for us, man.
bet.
It's our first venture into that. We are a manufacturer, so we are building all of these products in our factory. Anyone that's ever in Austin, Texas, drop me a line. Company phone number is on most things, but we'd love to have you by the factory.
I'm out there often. I'd love to go.
Yeah, swing by, man.
Yeah,
Love
for
to have
sure.
you by,
I'm in
dude.
Texas about twice a month these days, but
Oh, right on.
yeah, that's incredible. So, do you get fucked with the FDA or whatever on this? Because like we do in cannabis, because nothing is FDA approved to put cannabis in ultimately. So do you same deal with that, or just suggestion kind of thing?
So suggestion,
Right.
and it's not even a suggestion. We're just sharing information.
Right.
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 But the thing is, I think what's misunderstood about that is no supplements are FDA approved.
None.
Nothing's.
Nothing,
and so
right.
people say, "Oh, is it FDA approved?" No, it's not FDA.
I actually
approved.
prefer if it's not.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because it means it's not backed with corruption.
Well, they approved OxyContin, and
right.
they approved
For
a label
10-year-olds.
saying that it's not addictive.
Yeah,
Okay,
for
sure.
10-year-olds, even recently. So,
But
yeah, it's that I digress on that one too. So, all right. So, checking out all these different things, we got. Are you going to stick to the kratom kava kind of deal, or is there other plant medicines that are interesting?
yeah, we have ventured out a little bit. That project is on pause.
Right.
But we do still have some of the products available, and we will relaunch. It's an entirely separate functional mushroom line called Allied Forces. Like I said, that's on hiatus right now with all of the challenges we've been facing in the industry. We locked in. We actually discontinued about 40% of our total products, but it was less than 7% of total sales. So we stuck to what's really selling, working on developing things that are working. And but no, I'm a big fan of functional mushrooms, lion's mane and chaga and shilajit. And
we have a line of that as well with our brand Scoop Organics, and then of course it's the precursor to hopefully psilocybin mushrooms one day. We're big on that, but I can't wait to have a can of kratom kava psilocybin cannabis.
Buddy.
Well, a party in a can kind of deal. So
I'm going to say that's not FDA approved.
yeah. Again, I tend to lean towards that FDA approved. Statement for your company. If the elevator pitch, what is 1836 and where does it belong in an adult's life?
Sure.
Sure.
So we always encourage moderation. I believe that 1836 kratom is something that can really make your lifestyle better. It can really improve your general wellness, but you need to be mindful. You need to read about it. I do always encourage moderation, but it's something that to me has been an absolute game changer. I was a big drinker playing music, man. It's just part of the lifestyle. You get to the gig at 6 p.m., they give you beers, and you're drinking till 2:30. Daily, and when we had our son, it was like, man, I got to make a change. And it was just such a habit to drink every night. So it was kratom that really helped me transition away. And I'm not, I'm not like a stamp on the forehead AA guy.
Right.
I'll have a couple beers from time to time.
Sure.
But it is so rare, man.
Same.
It is so rare.
I quit drinking. My nose couldn't take it. So
Yeah.
I too came up in the bar scene, and it will suck you right in. But I think we're probably close to the same age. It seems like our generation and below have smartened up. They're just we're not drinkers anymore. And
it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
big cultural shift, man.
I even still try to I'm going to get drunk tonight. Sometimes special events and stuff, and I'll, like a half a drink in or two. I'm like, okay, so it's incredible. Hopefully, we can see this become more of a social acceptable thing. Whereas we're starting to have consumption lounges and things like that for cannabis. I would love to see people have other options at the bars as well too.
I hope there will be. A buddy of mine, a lot of people like the luau for, an alternative to having a drink in the evening.
Sure.
But he's a big weightlifter and stuff, real into fitness, and he's been training super hard.
That's kind of was your background on this, too. You've mentioned a couple of times this is kind of for the gym enthusiasts, the health enthusiasts, something to help get through the pains and struggles of workout,
Absolutely.
Even potentially like a pre-workout. Is that some people use that?
As a matter of fact, in here we have 1836 Superfit. That is absolutely a pre-workout. So it's more moderately dosed on kratom because, like I was saying, more
Libre kind of.
Yeah, it's got a luchador on there, man. But that's got some caffeine, amino acids, and electrolytes.
Right.
The amino acids it has in there is L-citrulline. It's got agmatine sulfate. It's really good for pump and blood flow. So this is a really nice, and you do kind of need to know kratom and understand where you're at. I personally, that was one of the biggest things for me is taking it for the gym.
Right.
Was super, super helpful to me. But like we were saying earlier, be mindful. Less is more.
You probably build a tolerance to this too, as of most things, right?
You can, but I think that's one thing that's wonderful about it is the vast majority of people that I know, they kind of stick.
Right.
What's interesting is it doesn't really, like, the first time you consume it, if you've never had it, you may kind of have more of like a buzz kind of thing.
Right.
But it's really just a feeling of like well-being with regular kratom, and so it doesn't have that temptation to because, like we were saying, you get that fatigue, you feel tired.
Right.
So most of the people that I know, they kind of tend to find their sweet spot and stick there. You
Right.
know.
So for anybody looking to try these products, where is the entry level? Where do you say start here?
Sure. I always say if you've never consumed kratom, even though it's less exciting, you may want to start with the powdered leaf. All of our beverages, too, they're all in line with the natural plant, the alkaloid profile. So this is the equivalent of 3 capsules, which is 1 standard serving. If you're starting with a beverage, you may just do half of it, you know. Let it ride for about 15 minutes and see where you're at, because you can always have another sip, but, you know, once it's there, it's there. So
cannabis. You can't untake it.
Exactly, man. Learned that lesson many times.
So-
But yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. So, you could find these products in our sponsor stores, Crown Town Cannabis, as well as the Plug Distribution.
Yeah.
If you're a retail location, you can find it there. Outside of this, where can they find your company and information, social media, website, things like that?
Sure. So there's a direct link at 1836fitness.com. 1836fitness.com allows the consumer to buy there. It also has a map of all of our stores. So if you're
we
wanting
on
to get this, yeah, of course it's on there.
Okay, cool.
So you can go, you can put in your zip code. We do update that regularly. It's not always in perfect real time, but we get it up as quick as possible.
Yep.
And there are stores in most places. We've got a number of stores throughout North Carolina. In fact, our second oldest customer is in Asheville. Annie over at Just Like That is wonderful, and we've worked together for 8 years now.
I love Asheville. We have we have a couple stores we'll be opening in Asheville. One of them, Legacy Store, All Souls Grotto, that was taken out by the hurricane, but we'll be reopening that one by the end of the year as well. So,
Right on.
love the product, love the branding. Again, not a Kratom guy. It took quite a bit for convince me to bring Kratom in the store. We had different ones over the years, less than impressed with it. Didn't really know the source, we were buying just these generic bags.
Yeah.
Turned me off, customers off, and everything, and we just kind of got away from it. And then I think it was Billy or someone, I saw this product, presented it. I love the branding. I love the educational piece, which you have education out on your website too that runs through a lot of things we talked about today, and answers a lot of questions you want. I mean, these guys are huge with the printables and the all the marketing pieces that really break down what this is. And we're, as a company, very education heavy as well as advocacy. We don't sell anything we don't believe in and know the source, and believe in ethical companies that do things the right way, and these guys are. So whether you're in Austin, Texas, or anywhere out throughout the U.S., are you overseas yet? You ever taken your products back to Indo?
No, but we're looking to expand into Europe. So
everybody seems to be jumping ship to Europe and escape the BS here. But either way, man, thank you so much for your time and coming in. It's been an honor to learn and to carry your product, and I look forward to build on that. Anything you want to leave the people with before we cut this thing out?
Yeah, if you do want to learn more on 1836 Kratom and 1836fitness.com, we had a trusted vendor program for our retailers that was so popular that we decided to share that with customers. So if you're wanting to learn about certain products, learn about Kratom in general, learn more about our decision not to carry 7-OH, go over there, and if you have any questions, reach out. I'm a very, very busy human and super ADD, so it may take me, but I will answer every single email if you got a question. And the regular orders line is fast. Orders is, but I'm info at 1836. But you can learn about all our products. I always encourage moderation. We say with all of our products, any Kratom products, it really should be anything.
Sure.
Research, reflect, decide, know what you're putting into your body, read about it, and make your decision accordingly.
Yeah, that's good advice in general. Yeah. And if you have any questions for me and you don't want it answered, email me, because I do not answer emails. Working on that. Actually working on an AI program now that's been answering emails for me.
Nice.
I've been called out by a couple of people. They're like, you definitely didn't write that email. But either way, man, thank you for being here today. Thank you all for watching. Tune in, help support this product and our sponsors, Crown Town Cannabis, as well as the Plug Distribution. And as always, like and subscribe, share this, help us get the word out. Let'sbeblunt.org. If you got a story to share, whether you're pro cannabis, pro kratom, con, whatever, I want to hear from you. We're about to do some segments on mental health coming up.
Sure.
We also are going to do some shows on functional mushrooms and a lot of mushroom things. So we're really wanting to embrace this wellness thing as I'm approaching 50 quickly.
Yeah.
I'll be 45 this year. But
what day?
November 15th.
So I am 1 month and 9 days older than you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's incredible. So you're
October 6th. Yeah.
Libra.
Yeah.
Nice. Amazing. But anyway, thank you again for your time, and thank you all for your support. Like and subscribe, share. As always, peace, love, cannabis.